Hello, ladies and gentlemen, all you people out there in Gentleman City, YouTube land, welcome to the Hail Victory YouTube show. On this episode, I'll be talking about the Florida power metal band Crimson Glory, well, prog power metal band, I guess you could call them. They formed in 1979 under the name Pierced Arrow and would later change their name to Beowulf before settling on the name Crimson Glory in 1983. That lineup would be rounded out by the guitarist John Drenning and Ben Jackson, although I think Ben Jackson might have been there from the beginning. And they would recruit Jeff Lords on bass a few years later, and Midnight was rounded out the what is now considered to be the classic lineup, and of course Dana Brunel on drums. And they would release this self-titled album right here in 1986 on Par Records, and this is a original pressing, and you see them with the masks there. And yeah, they took the formula on the Queensryche EP and perfected it 1,000-fold. It's like the Queensryche EP on crack, essentially. If you like that EP, and if you liked the first Queensryche album, The Warning, you'll really like that album. I would highly recommend that album to fans of old Queensryche. There is not a dull moment on this album. It opens with Valhalla, followed by Dragon Lady, the ballad Heart of Steel. It goes on to Azrael, Mayday, and Queen of the Masquerade, Angels of War, Lost Reflection, power metal standard, or classic power metal standard. Power metal, for the most part, sucks nowadays, but yeah, that was back when bands like Omen and Jagdpanzer could do power metal without being crappy, like bands like Dragon Force are, which those kind of bands don't do much for me. Anyway, that it would be followed up by this album right here, Transcendence, in 1988. This is original pressing on Roadrunner Records, or Road Racer as it was known at the time. And this is another album of all killer, no filler. It opens with Lady of Winter, followed by Red Sharks, probably my favorite song on the album, and goes on to Painted Skies, Mask of the Red Death, and the ballad, somewhat of a ballad, I guess you could call it, Lonely. Kind of a chick song, but pretty good song overall. Like I said, there's not a dull moment on that album, and it continues in the old Queensryche vein. It's for 1988, Queensryche had Operation Mindcrime that year, and they had Transcendence, and I personally think that is a far superior album to Operation Mindcrime. So if you like old Queensryche, you are definitely going to want to check that album out. That album would be followed by and this is really where it starts to go downhill, unfortunately. After that album, it would pretty much go to complete shit. They released this album in 1991, Strange and Beautiful. This was their attempt to go mainstream. It was released on Atlantic Records. Ben Jackson had left the band, and they were a four-piece. Dana Brunel had also left, and this album, man, I've tried to get into this over the years, and aside from the title track, I cannot get into this album. It goes in much more of like a pop rock kind of direction, and this album never had a snowball's chance in hell of being a hit. Having been released in 1991, the same year that Nirvana released that turd known as Nevermind, and grunge became the next big thing. This album sank without a trace, and the band broke up shortly thereafter, And after that album, Midnight would leave the band, and they would reform 8 years later, and with another singer, Wade Black, and do the Astronomica album. But yeah, I'll get to that album in the next video. So stay tuned for part 2.